This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any health or lifestyle changes. Welcome to the Happy Healthy Her podcast, your go-to space for real talk, inspiration, and laughter as we navigate life as a woman. Let's dive in.
Hi, and welcome back to the Happy Healthy Her podcast, the space where we empower women to live their best lives in midlife and beyond. Hi, I'm Cynthia Penner, a menopause health coach and author of the Menopause Map book series, and also host of the new Menopause Map Minute podcast and YouTube channel. I guide women through the wonderful, sometimes wild world of menopause. My focus is helping women navigate this season of life with confidence through knowledge of what the heck is going on in her bodies and with her hormones. And today I'm joined by my two amazing friends and co-hosts, Tracey Male and Lorraine Kine.
Hello,
Tracey?
I'm Tracey Male, a health empowerment coach supporting women facing thyroid and adrenal overwhelm. Through simple, sustainable, natural strategies, I help them rebuild their energy, harmonize their hormones, and soothe their nervous system so they can finally feel like themselves again. Thanks.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Kine, your empowerment and wellness coach, and I help women to live more authentically through self-discovery and self-healing. Welcome.
Wow. Hi, Lorraine. So today's topic is going to rattle a few coffee cups in the best way. We're talking about caffeine, energy hijacking, adrenal overload, and why so many women feel tired even after their morning brew. And to help us unravel this one, we brought in the man who literally broke up with coffee and lived to tell the tale. Our guest is Steve Frazier, founder of Release the Coffee Cuffs, a coaching program that helps people quit caffeine without quitting life. He's also the author of Release the Coffee Cuffs, Winning the Battle with Caffeine. Part science guide, part survival story, part hilarious truth telling. So Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. That's a great introduction. You guys are great. You guys are great. You're doing a great job already.
So Steve, let's begin with your story. You've been an entrepreneur and behavioral strategist for decades, yet you eventually realized that caffeine wasn't giving you energy, it was draining it. Can you share the heart behind your work and what led you to create Release the Coffee Cuffs?
Sure. I started my entrepreneur journey 40 years ago. I bought my first restaurant when I was 28.
Wow.
And then my wife and I built and operated 5 more over the next 23 years. And I lived on caffeine when I was in the restaurant business. And so I speak as a subject matter expert from a number of reasons. One is I wrote the book, I've done the research, but I have twice been a chronic caffeine user. And so I was able to break up, and then we'll get into that in a second. So what happened is that 11 years ago, 2 things happened. Personally, I had a pretty big health scare. I was driving to a demo out of town. I live in northern Wisconsin. I was driving to Milwaukee, 3 hours, going to work 6 hours, and then drive 3 hours home. I'm driving. I think I'm having a heart attack. I call my wife. I drive home. She takes me to the emergency room. They hook me up to an EKG machine. I've got the EKG machine shows my heart going up and down. I can feel it while it's juggling. The doctor comes in. He says, "You're going to be okay. You're not dying." I said, "Well, that's great. That's great news." And so I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, you are having premature ventricular contractions, PVCs.
Okay.
And everybody gets them. I happen to be very sensitive to them." Now, I'm going to stop here and just relevant to many of your audience, the women, these palpitations happen in perimenopause and menopause. Okay, more often if you're drinking caffeine. Okay, it's just something that happens it's an estrogen and caffeine cocktail kind of a thing. So when I said to the doctor, I said, so what's causing this? He said, well, stress. And then he paused and he kind of smirked a little bit and he said, and caffeine. And I mean, I had been loading up on caffeine already that morning. I would drink caffeine all the way to my demos. I'd drink energy drinks during the day so that I wouldn't fall asleep on the way home.
Wow.
So, I'm living on this stuff. And so what happened is that I quit. I was okay, but he said, if you don't drink caffeine, you probably won't have these. And he was right. So I quit for about 2 or 3 years. And then, like every good addict, I was the one guy or one person that was going to be able to do this and I could control it.
Oh
boy, was I wrong,
no.
right? I mean, I do podcasts with addiction recovery people, drugs, alcohol, whatever. I mean, this is the same story. If you go back, it just rules your life.
Yeah.
So I started again 6 years later, which was about 2 years ago. It was owning me. I needed it to wake up. I would need sleeping pills or alcohol to go to sleep. And I just determined that I needed it. So I quit cold turkey, which I don't recommend because I had the adenosine headaches, and I'll explain that later. The adenosine is what puts you to sleep at night. And when you quit caffeine cold turkey, your adenosine receptors open up and you get this massive headache. And you get brain fog and you get fatigue because the adenosine is now telling your body that it needs to rest. And the blood flow is what's giving you the headache. And I had it for 3 days. And I've talked to people, it can go anywhere from 24 hours to 10 days. This can last, and I'm in a number of Facebook quitting caffeine groups, and I read the stories. I mean, there are people that they're in 12 to 18 months after quitting and they still haven't reset. Don't give up because it's well worth it. Don't give up. No, because it's worth it. In the book that I wrote, the first chapter is called Anecdotal Stories. And it was originally supposed to be the last chapter. And as I put it together, I realized that this was perhaps the most powerful chapter because anybody that reads it will find themselves in there. Right. And when I say that, you read about the pain when any addiction, how hard it is sometimes. And what's really unique about the stories is that every one of them, and there's about 20 of them, they all agreed that the biggest benefit to quitting caffeine was better sleep. And most of them hadn't slept like this in decades, that they couldn't even remember the last time they slept this well. Now, I'll say this right now. Sleep is the foundation to your health.
Yeah.
Okay. So and stage 3 and stage 4 are crucial for men and women for a number of reasons. For men, it's where they create testosterone. So their libido goes down if they don't have testosterone. Their sperm are fractured. Their sperm aren't as mobile. And for women, there's restricted flow to the uterus, and so their eggs don't have the blood flow, so they're less receptive to sperm. So if you're trying to conceive a baby and you're both drinking caffeine and you're having a hard time, this could be part of the problem. And when I talk about these things, none of this is absolute. There's always exceptions. Of course. So, but people get kind of testy when they oh, that can't be me. It can't be the caffeine. Well, I tell you what, quit for 3 months and see if you can conceive. And just maybe it's going to happen. Yeah. So ultimately, a couple of years ago, I got certified as a self-sabotage coach. And the other thing that happened 11 years ago is my wife got chronically ill with Lyme disease. Oh. And she almost died. And our daughter, we saw 17 doctors who basically told her to hit the road. They did. Doctors don't deal well with autoimmune because Lyme is autoimmune. And it's an umbrella, okay? So she was diagnosed with lupus, with fibromyalgia, with MS. My daughter, who just had become a natural health practitioner, walked in the house. In 15 minutes, she looked at Brenda and said, "You have Lyme from the waist down." And that was verified by her mentor 4 days later. Wow. So now she's still recovering from that. And that's 11 years because 2 years undiagnosed she was.
Oh my
And so now what happened then though, and as hard as this is, she acknowledges that some things happened because of this. And one is we went down the natural health rabbit hole. Now, once you go there, you never go back.
Yep.
Never.
Now with my wife, right, you don't. But with my wife, you can't, because she can't eat processed food. She can't eat any gluten. She can't eat any grains. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you just think about that. No corn, no rice, no wheat. Now, if you start to look at ingredients, everything has wheat, everything. So we eat mostly organic, or at least non-GMO. And then when I got into self-sabotage work, there's a multiple pillars in self-sabotage, and one is physical. And a lot of the key players there are alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, prescription drugs, just regular drugs, street drugs, overeating, not lack of sleep. And I looked at caffeine because I had some experience here. I mean, I didn't have, I quit smoking 40 years ago. Okay. And I would still like to have a cigarette today, just so you know. But I haven't had one in 40 years. Because back here, my little subconscious, oh man, you get that buzz, you get that dopamine hit. So anyway, I started to look into it, and the 85% of the adults in the United States drink caffeine every day.
Wow.
That's 200 to 300 million people. And I'm thinking, I know that I can help somebody here. I can give some information. And I was doing a podcast a couple of months ago, and I used the analogy to the gentleman, the host, that I was like a salmon swimming upstream. And he said, "No, Steve, you're not." And he kind of chuckled, and he said, "You are like a salmon swimming against a tsunami."
Yeah.
because nobody wants to hear this.
Nope.
Yeah.
There's cognitive dissonance, and I'm going to explain this for your listeners. If you guys may know this, but this is when we are all programmed. We all have beliefs that we've known all of our lives, right? Your subconscious is created from 0 to 7 years of age. That's where 95% of our subconscious is created. So when you tell somebody an objective truth that goes against what they have been programmed to believe, they choose not to believe it. They just ignore it. And so I've handed copies of my book to family and friends. The first thing they say to me is, "You can't take my coffee from me." Now,
Yeah, Steve, I'm thinking in my head as you're talking, I'm like, well, I only have 2 to 3 cups in the morning before noon. Is that okay?
2 to 3. Wow.
Like I'm trying to I don't know, barter here.
well, you're negotiating with yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Everybody
absolutely.
does it. Self-sabotage this is how people are. We all do it.
Yeah.
So you're
So-
normal, Cynthia, just so you know.
So can you explain what signs, like if the listeners listening right now and they're thinking like I am, like I only have so many cups or whatever. So what signs in your own body besides that heart event
Heart palpitation,
that finally
yeah.
made you stop and question caffeine besides the doctor, which that was impressive for a doctor to actually contribute food to a health thing is
Shocking.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it was my sleep. I had a hard time going to sleep, and when I woke up, I was tired. So what do? You go for
Coffee.
caffeine. You have to, whatever it is, coffee, tea, energy drink, soda, whatever your choice is, even really strong chocolate, you could get enough to get a buzz. Because what happens when you drink caffeine, you upset your circadian rhythm. So I'm gonna explain this very briefly because I can use myself as an example. When I wake up, the first thing I do is I look at the sun, because that helps boost my cortisol. Because naturally, cortisol is a stress hormone, but your body actually produces cortisol every morning.
Yeah.
Because it gives you energy throughout the day. And then as your day goes on, your cortisol level goes down, and your melatonin and your adenosine goes up. Now, a lot of people know about melatonin because it's common, take melatonin to help you sleep. A lot of people don't know about adenosine. Adenosine is what actually puts you to sleep, because those receptors up there, that's what puts you to sleep at night. And the caffeine molecule is so similar to the adenosine molecule that it plugs the adenosine receptor. So you don't get tired. You're mentally, you are wired. Now your body can be exhausted. And I want to make something really clear to everyone. People that drink caffeine in copious amounts even still go to sleep at night.
Mhm.
Their sleep is terrible because it's disruptive. There's 4 stages of sleep, but stage 3 is where we heal. This is where the men do the testosterone. Women do some other things, a little bit of estrogen, but not much. But you heal your muscles there. And stage 4 is where you dream, and where your subconscious is repairing your mind. And there's some other details in there. When your circadian rhythm is disrupted, stage 3 and stage 4 are delayed and shortened. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that you go through 4 to 6 sleep cycles a night. And so that means that 4 to 6 times when you're supposed to be in that restful sleep and then the deep sleep, they're shortened and they're activated less. So what happens? You wake up tired. Now, for women, particularly women, more so even than men, and women over 40, it gets worse. And you're getting less and less, because what happens in the morning then, so I get up and first thing I do is I look at the sun. I have a sun lamp that I use that boosts my cortisol naturally. If the sun's not out, like in the summer, I don't need the sun lamp because the sun's up.
Yeah.
Then I drink lemon water and I hydrate, because I hydrate 20 to 24 ounces of lemon water every morning, first thing before I do anything. Now, what that does is it hydrates my cells, because you realize that we are dehydrated overnight. So if you know that if you weigh yourself at night and then weigh yourself in the morning, you always weigh. I weigh, yeah. Wow, this is a great weight loss program. I sometimes stay awake and stay in bed for 2 extra hours thinking I'll lose an extra pound, but it doesn't work. Okay, but anyway, that's just me. But I do lose 2 pounds overnight, no matter what.
Yeah.
And what happens then is that, and I will say this for anybody that listens to this and you're not going to quit caffeine, that's okay. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to shame you. We all have free will and free won't. And a lot of people don't hear it put like that.
Yeah.
So you decide after you listen to this podcast how you want to evaluate your relationship with caffeine. And so what happens then is that when you get up first thing in the morning, and a lot of people do this because they're detoxing, they're in withdrawal from caffeine. So they go right to that coffee. The first thing that happens is you get this cortisol hit. Now, you're already producing cortisol. Now, if you have any other caffeine after that, your circadian rhythm is pretty much toast. And so your sleep cycles are going to be messed up. You also get a massive adrenaline hit. And this happens every time you drink caffeine. It does. Everybody's affected differently. And we are going to talk about how it affects women a little bit in a couple minutes. But so when you get that adrenaline hit, you go into sympathetic mode in your nervous system, which is fight or flight. Now, a lot of people have heard about that. That's when you're running from the bear, lions, tigers, and bears, or you're running from a mugger, whatever. So you get anxious, you get energy, and you get glucose into your muscles, because your body says, I need to fight or flight, so I need energy in my muscles. If you're sitting at your kitchen table, or if you're sitting at your desk at work, you're not fighting or flighting. You are sitting there. So guess what happens to your blood sugar? It goes up. Yes, dramatically.
Yeah.
So guess what happens to Steve's pancreas if I'm the guy that's doing it? My pancreas says, whoa, man, Steve needs some insulin, right? So we shoot some insulin in. And then now we have this vicious cycle. And it's a nonstop thing. Every time you drink caffeine, these things happen. Now, everybody's different. So we process caffeine differently. And so you may not get the same reaction exactly like I just described. But chemically and biologically, these things are going to happen. And then another thing that happens is you get a dopamine hit. Now, this is wonderful. Dopamine is a wonderful hormone because it makes you feel good. But at some point, your body says, he's telling me this all the time. So I'm going to give him a little less dopamine. And just like that, you're going to get a little less cortisol. You're going to get a little less adrenaline, and you will get adrenal fatigue. And I'm sure you guys are aware of this.
Yep.
You coach it, adrenal fatigue in the medical industry. They kind of ignore this. I find it hard to believe that they ignore this, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not the guy writing the papers, right? But I've read enough about this that I realize that I believe it's real. Okay. And in my book, when I talk about these things, I just want to tell you 14 middle chapters of my book have over 300 references and sites. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm just not making it up. Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't, I throw my opinion in here once in a while, but generally speaking, this is from information that I've gotten from my research. So you have all these things going on in your body. For women in particular, if you do this regularly, you can get a cortisol belly. And there's nothing you can do about it because when you have excess cortisol, particularly for a woman, it will then accumulate around your belly. And no matter how good you eat and no matter how much you exercise, the cortisol is there and you can't get rid of it until you can lower your cortisol levels. And I actually know a woman, my pastor's wife, 20 years ago had this. Nobody knew what was going on. I believe that's what it was. I don't know the circumstances, but nobody ever could figure it out. And then ultimately she lost it. So maybe she quit caffeine. I don't know. For men, you have high blood pressure because when you go into sympathetic mode, that fight or flight, your blood pressure goes up, right? Because your heart's beating because you're fighting and flighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same with women, okay? But with men, it's more so. With men, cortisol and testosterone do not get along. If you have a lot of cortisol in your body as a man, you don't produce testosterone and you don't have a lot of testosterone. So here's an example. A lot of guys and women, but guys in particular, they do a pre-workout drink when they lift in the morning. And while they lift, their testosterone actually goes up, even with the caffeine and the cortisol. But as soon as they're done lifting, their cortisol goes to almost nothing. Because now your testosterone, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke myself. Testosterone goes down because there's so much cortisol in there. Because you realize pre-workout drinks have anywhere from 200 to 400 milligrams of caffeine. And when you look at your workout drinks, it's not just the caffeine that's on the label, but it's also the natural ingredients they put in the workout drink. They're naturally caffeinated, and they don't tell you that there's caffeine in there.
Oh.
Tricky labeling. Okay. Yeah. That's our society. And it's a $1 trillion business. We want people to drink caffeine, right? Because there are a lot of people making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so the guy now, his libido goes down. He doesn't necessarily want to have babies as often as a normal guy because his libido goes down. And then when he does try to make babies, maybe his sperm's not good enough. So there's all these things. Now for women, you've got the cortisol belly, and then you've got the hormones. Okay. And I've got this little thing here. If you can see this. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is your kidney. And it's got a little cap on it, right? It's got a hat. That's your adrenal gland. And you've got two of them. And it runs a lot of things in your body. And it can if you mess with your adrenal gland and you start messing with your hormones. And I was in a retreat in September with 17 women in a Airbnb for 5 days. And I sat down with 3 girls at breakfast, and one of them I had never met before. And we were just talking. I had taken my book. I gave everybody a copy of the book, and we're talking about stuff. And I looked at him, and just because I say outlandish things once in a while, I said, I may know more about your menstrual cycle than you do. Okay, well, the one girl looked at me like, "Oh man, maybe I should just get up and walk away, right?" Because this guy's going to start talking about menstruation and things. And so we chat a little bit about it because it's so different for women with caffeine and different type in their cycle. When you're in your luteal phase, which is 14 to 28 days right before you have your period, you process caffeine 70% slower than normal. So the half-life of caffeine goes from 5 to 8 hours to probably 8 to 12 hours. So if you have a 12-ounce cup of coffee, which generally will have 150 milligrams of caffeine in it at noon, you still have 75 milligrams active in your system at 10 o'clock when you're going to sleep. And you are going to go to
When
sleep.
you're trying to go to sleep and you're not going to sleep.
Yeah.
Got too much
Yes.
caffeine in your system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Steve,
Crazy.
now that we know the story, let's talk about the transformation. So
Okay.
your approach isn't just quit caffeine. It's a full mind-body reset. So
Yes.
you've dug into neuroscience, hormones, adrenal fatigue, dopamine, habit formation, all the things women in midlife struggle with. So what makes your method so effective compared to the white knuckle your way through withdrawal approach? Because if our listeners decide they're going to drop the caffeine, you better believe they're going to white knuckle it. So
Yes. So there's two ways that in the book I have a whole chapter on quitting caffeine, and then I have the coaching program, that is for people that want to quit caffeine. Now I'm not promoting that. I'm going to tell you what we do in that, because that's the process. The first thing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you some attachments that you can provide to your listeners, some information. And one of them is called Tools and Trackers. Your first thing you want to do is establish and determine how much caffeine you're drinking, because nobody is honest with themselves until you have to write it down.
Yeah.
My daughter, who's a natural health practitioner, drinks caffeine. And she was in New York City a month ago, went to a supplement seminar. They always do muscle testing. She does energy work. The guy that tested her said your second highest sensitivity is caffeine. This is on a Sunday. Monday morning, she calls me. She said, "Dad, I'm gonna go down to 75 milligrams." I said, "Hold on. We've got to determine what you're drinking." So we do this just over the phone. Well, the first analysis was 240 milligrams a day. We then determined that she was doing 300 to 400 milligrams a day, which is chronic. It's chronic, right? And it's science based, because she testified to me one day and she's still trying to withdraw. She wants to quit, and it's a challenge physically for her, because one day she forgot to drink coffee 11:30 in the morning. Her head hurt so bad she forgot to drink the cup in the morning. And then last week she forgot to drink caffeine all day. At 10 o'clock at night, her head hurt so bad she couldn't go to sleep. She got up, made herself a cup of coffee, and went to sleep. Now that seems antithetical to everything I've said, but her head, because the only thing that'll stop an adenosine headache is caffeine. There's no painkiller that will stop this. So we then reestablished what she should do, and this is a taper method, and you can gear this towards how you want to quit. The big thing here is to actually decide that you're going to quit, and you don't try to quit. And again, I've done a number of podcasts with addiction people, alcohol and drugs and cigarettes. If you're going to try to quit anything, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You either quit or you don't. Back when I was in the restaurant business, all my employees smoked and drank. It's a habit, we had a bar and a restaurant. And they would warn me, I'm going to try to quit smoking tomorrow. So I'm going to be crabby. So beware. And I would just chuckle and say, don't waste your time. you're going to fail, because if you're not going to quit, you're going to fail, and then you're just going to be miserable. You're going to make me miserable. You're going to make everybody else miserable. So you have to have a plan. And the first part of your plan is determining what you're drinking. And then how are you going to do this? Now, in those tools and trackers, there's a lot of information in there, and you can also get these on my website, releaseofcoffeecups.com. They're also available there. And then you decide. So if you're going to quit, it doesn't matter to me if you're going to quit cold turkey 7 days or 3 months. The key is you're going to quit, because this is you talked about what's involved here. This is a complete lifestyle change.
Yes.
And you should be aware of that. You should. And so I'm being honest with you. This isn't just life's going to go on the same after I quit caffeine. It's not. The biggest thing is social pressure. And I'm going back to my self-sabotage talk here. You are no longer part of the herd, because the herd is that 85% of people that drink caffeine every day, right? This is the social norm. It's a legal drug. It's socially accepted and often socially promoted. So if you walk into the coffee break room that first day that you're not going to, and you either walk in with your own decaf, or maybe they'll have a pot there, but probably not. You'll have to bring it, and people are going to look at you, and they are going to ask you, why aren't you drinking regular coffee with them?
You know,
I can't.
Steve,
Who would do that? I would never ask somebody, "What's
well,
wrong
you
with
know
you?"
what, Tracy, I didn't
you're just
drink
hanging out with the
coffee.
wrong people. No.
No, you know what? I started drinking coffee when I was 51 years
so
old. I didn't drink coffee for the first 51 years of my life. Every time I met friends for or for lunch or for breakfast or whatever, they're all drinking coffee, and they're looking at me like I had two heads or something. Right? Yeah,
It's just
Tracy,
bizarre to
people
me.
ask me all the time, why don't you drink
Oh.
coffee? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, well, I don't like the
I want
taste.
water. I want
Right.
a tea. I want
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that caffeine is a diuretic as well. And so
Oh yeah.
and for women in particular, for calcium and magnesium, if you aren't supplementing those minerals, the osteoporosis, the bone loss, it's going to be nasty. It makes your life nastier, because you're already at risk for these things in menopause and postmenopause. So, and I'm not giving medical advice, but go to a natural doctor and say, I need this, and they'll help you dose. And magnesium glycinate is something that a lot of people, and this is with caffeine or without, it will help you sleep at night. You're
Right.
replacing a mineral in your body that you are deficient in, right?
Right.
Because you're peeing it all out every time you go. It's not just water. Okay. It's all these, there's some good things coming out as well.
Yeah.
So in this tools and trackers, we have journals in there about emotions. Okay. Not that, and realize that as women, you guys, and I'm not going to assume what you talk about. I know I spent 5 days with 17 women. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on, right? Even though we didn't have any drama, men have the same emotions. They just don't ever talk about it. Okay. I'm just being honest. Men don't, I had a therapist for 18 years. And when I left her 10 years ago, I said, I'm really, the worst thing I feel about is I came to you, that I needed you. And the only time in 18 years she ever said this to me, she said, Steve, you're wrong. She had never said this, because all they do is guide you. And she did a fantastic job. She said, that was the strongest thing you ever did, because you knew that you needed help. And I did. And she helped me through some really serious stuff, depression, some other things. The point is that women tend to be able to sometimes express their emotions. You'll cry. A good cry is not a bad thing, right?
No.
I mean, how many guys do you see crying? I haven't cried in 15 years. When my dad died, but the point is that women have more emotions, and now you throw caffeine onto that hormonal thing, which you're already genetically more prone to be nervous and anxious. And by throwing in that adrenaline and the dopamine, because realize when you come off the dopamine, you're getting a good buzz. But when you come off of that, you now have a lot of anxiety. You have a lot of nervousness. And I will warn you, and as you go through different parts of your cycle, and then when you go through perimenopause, menopause, and you're done, these things are directly related. Caffeine and estrogen, again, don't get along either. Kind of like cortisol and testosterone. And so you think about these things, and women will say, oh, why do I feel like this at this time of the month and somebody else doesn't? It's because you're drinking 5 cups of coffee a day, man.
Jesus,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just, and I'm not judging you, but this is the reason.
Yeah.
And
I think myself, I can only have one coffee. One coffee in the morning. If I have two, I'm sweating, I'm shaking. I was like, nope. So I'll have a decaf. I could do a decaf and that's it for me.
Sure.
I do
Yep.
not have coffee. If I have a coffee by noon, I'm not sleeping that night. I know
Right.
I'm extremely sensitive to it. And
Yep.
yeah, so I'm now after this, I'm going to go back to decaf only. Until
Now
I'm done with
gonna
that.
I'm gonna kind of burst your bubble a little bit
Yeah,
here.
I know it has some in it too.
Yeah.
La la
You're
la la,
you're a
not
mind
listening.
reader. You're a mind reader. Nah. Plug your ears. Right? Unplug your headphones, whatever.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Because
I can't hear you. It's not true.
normal decaf still has 10 to 15% caffeine.
Yeah,
Okay. So if
so I'm
you're drinking
yeah.
decaf all day and you're sensitive to caffeine,
No,
it's
yeah.
messing with you.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
drink
One.
coffee every day. I drink coffee every day.
Yeah.
I drink
Do you?
organic Swiss water processed coffee,
See,
decaf. That
that's what I
takes
used to buy.
99.9% of the caffeine out, and it's organic.
Mm.
So, and ironically, there's a guy, an influencer on the internet, and he sells coffee, and he's a millionaire. And he did a reel 2 weeks ago, and my wife sent it to me. And in 47 seconds, he told his listeners that if you drink 3 to 5 cups a day of coffee, that you're going to live longer and you're going to be healthier. That was the first part. So I didn't really like this at all. So I thought I'm going to dig a little deeper here. And what he did is, he lied. Okay. Because I went and looked at some studies, and these were big studies. 500,000 people were one, 1 million was another. They were meta studies, meta-analysis.
Wow.
In the caveat, in the fine print of these studies, they both said that you do live longer if you drink coffee, 3 to 5 cups, and you might be a little healthier. However, the studies were done with half caffeinated coffee and half decaf. Caffeine was not the mitigating factor. It was the polyphenols and the other things in the coffee. So you realize that there are an antioxidants, because then the second part of the reel said Americans get 67% of their antioxidants from coffee. So you should drink coffee. Okay. He's justifying why you should drink coffee. Realize people are listening to him because he's an influencer, and people listen to influencers. So I thought, this doesn't seem right. So I dug into it. He actually was telling the truth, because wait, don't fall off your chairs. If you could leave the screen for a minute, Americans, adults in general, eat so little foods with antioxidants that they actually get 67% of their antioxidants from coffee, because there are antioxidants in coffee.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you realize it's the volume of coffee that they're drinking that's getting them to the 67% level.
And it's the crappy foods
it doesn't matter.
that they're eating. Yeah.
Yeah. It's killing you in other ways, but hey, you got
Oh yeah. But we aren't going to talk about that. We aren't going to talk about blood pressure. We're not going to talk about conception. We're going to talk about, in a couple minutes, we're going to talk about this guy right here, or girl. Okay. In just a minute. Okay. See that?
The baby.
You know who that is? Yep. Well, we can't stop. We can't leave without talking about this person. But so in the journals, you have all these tools, and then there's also attachments. There's 10 to 12 articles on caffeine. One is the 10 ways it affects men and women differently. Talks about the nasties that are in your coffee. It does talk about the Swiss water process. And when you go to the grocery store, if you look at the decaf in the decaf section, and I buy it just at my local pick and save, right? Every major chain has this. They have organic Swiss water processed decaf. And you can buy name brand stuff for $2 or $3 more. You can buy generic, like this is Kroger, I think, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Is it a little more expensive? Yes. But I like it. I like it not because I don't like coffee, but I like all the stuff I put in it. I put in
Right.
I put in all kinds of really good stuff. Turmeric. I put in collagen. I put in cacao. I put in other coconut oil. You know, I'm getting all kinds of great stuff in my coffee, along with the polyphenols.
Nice.
Should you do this? Well, if you're going to drink coffee, drink this, right?
Yeah. Can you touch quickly on what, like somebody with, you talked about autoimmune, right? So someone
Yep.
with like a Hashimoto's, or their adrenals are just wrecked, their nervous system is wrecked. If they're taking in caffeine on top of that, I would like, could you kind of let you go on that? Because I know
It is.
myself what it does.
Yep.
So,
It is aggravating everything that you're doing in your body. It
yeah.
just exponentially adds gasoline on the fire of the disease you have. And I'm going to, we talked about cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
You remember?
Mm-hmm.
You realize that doctors and nurses also have cognitive dissonance. And at least 85% of them are drinking caffeine every day. So a patient comes in and they see a symptom and they will never address it. Not never, that's a bad word to say, but rarely will they address or even ask the patient how much caffeine or how much coffee they drink. Because that symptom, they don't have that symptom because they drink 5 pots of coffee a day. I don't have that
Yeah.
symptom, so that couldn't possibly be caffeine because we're all different, right? So realize that if you quit something that is negatively affecting your health, let's say Hashimoto's. When my wife got sick, she created a pasta made from garbanzo bean flour, non-GMO. I used to sell it in co-ops, natural co-ops in the Midwest, and I demo all the time. And I talked to people that had diseases I had never heard of. Hashimoto's is one, irritable syndrome, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
syndrome.
Realize that caffeine can create or affect those dramatically because it's affecting your adrenal glands and your sleep. And if you're not healing properly, how do you heal a disease in your body if you're disrupting your healing sleep cycle? Now, I'm not I'm not so ignorant to believe that if you quit caffeine, these things are going to go away. They are probably going to get better though, because you're going to sleep better and you heal in your sleep. And the other thing that I would say, and our daughter is our primary caregiver. If you can find a quality naturopath or energy worker and muscle tester, and you got to do some research, but there's more and more, and they're all over. They're all over the country now. Back in the day, it was hard to find these people. But we take my wife takes 30 to 50 supplements a day, pills and liquid.
Mm-hmm.
I take 15 to 20 a day. I'm 68 years old and I don't take any medication.
Yeah. Nice.
It's hard to be healthy. It is hard work. And so for anybody there's no illusion here. I'm not kidding you. And it's hard to quit caffeine. Just as if anything you've done, it's hard to have a baby. Everybody wants to have a baby. After you have the baby, you forget about that. What do? You have another one, right? I mean, you can speak to that. I can't. Okay, right. But I have I have 8 grandchildren. I've been through a
nice.
baby thing a number of times, and my kids kept coming back for more. And
Nice.
and so it's worth it to quit because you're going to feel better. I can't guarantee anything, but I can say with 99.9% confidence that if you quit caffeine, you are going to feel better because first of all, you're going to sleep better. Your adrenals are going to heal. All these other things are going to be better. And possibly some of these things that you've been diagnosed with by the doctor, they don't look for these things because it's not in their realm of thinking. It's outside of they have tunnel vision. What are their jobs? And I'm not ripping on any doctors here, but their jobs are to prescribe or cut.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, when's the last time that any of you or your listeners went to a doctor and you had a problem and they said, okay, let's sit here for a half an hour and figure out what are you eating every day?
Yeah.
We've
Okay.
No
talked
worries.
about this,
Just think about this. Okay.
Yeah.
And this never happened, right?
No.
We do see a licensed nurse practitioner once a year.
Mm.
We go and talk to her for an hour. We pay $165 in cash. We sit in an office for an hour and we talk about our health.
Nice.
And then if we want labs, it's all a la carte. The point is that she wants to know about me.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know about my body. Same with my wife. And same with anybody that you have to go find these people. They're just not out here, right? Again, it's hard to be healthy. And so before you ask me one more question, I want to talk about this person right here. This is big. This is a big deal. This is my mission of what I'm doing here is to spread knowledge and let everybody self-reflect and evaluate their relationship with caffeine, because we all have free will and free won't. This person does not have free will. This person is completely dependent on mom. And there's an enzyme in our livers called the CYP1A2. And we don't have time to get into it, but it's messes with estrogen and caffeine, and this enzyme the cocktail is devastating for some women. But for the fetus, it's incredibly devastating because that enzyme does not develop in a fetus until it's 3 to 6 months old.
Oh.
So in the womb, the baby gets all the caffeine because caffeine crosses all the barriers, placental, blood-brain barrier, the whole thing. And then one of the first things it does to the fetus is it plugs their adenosine receptors, which are communicators to your whole body to develop. Now realize every day babies are born to moms that drink caffeine and they're healthy. But in a lot of studies, caffeine use has been linked to low birth weight, to miscarriages and stillbirths, to ADD, ADHD. Okay, these are all documented. I'm not making this up. I have 2 miscarriages in my immediate family. I have 2 grandchildren I don't have. I went to a stillbirth funeral for my niece, open casket, 7-month-old fetus. When you see that, if you're not heartbroken, you don't have a heart. Why do I bring this up? Because as we talk about this, and anybody that's listening to this, if you know someone that is pregnant or going to be pregnant and they're drinking caffeine, share these facts with them. Because we have the ability, the rare ability, to possibly save a life.
Nice.
That doesn't happen every day.
No.
I just want to reiterate, because in your bio, it says you broke up with coffee. But listening to you keep saying the word caffeine, and you talked about the pre-workout. We're not talking about just coffee. We're talking about, like, let our listeners hear this umbrella. We're talking about pop. We're talking about caffeinated coffee. We're talking about pre-workout. Anything that you can, like, we're not just talking about coffee. We're talking about
5-hour energy nonsense.
Chocolate. Chocolate.
Oh yeah, energy drinks. We're talking about them.
Well, yeah. And you can start throwing stuff at me through the screen when I talk about chocolate. I almost, one lady just kind of looked at me like,
No.
well, I'm never going to quit. I said, that's okay. Now there's not a lot in there, but
uncaffeinated chocolate.
I don't know because the cacao and the cocoa they're naturally caffeinated. Now there's not a lot, so I'm not going to tell you. If you eat a Hershey's bar, you're not going to do long-term
I don't
damage.
need a lot of coffee or chocolate. That didn't make me sick.
My daughter, who's a natural health practitioner, she said to me, and this is before I wrote the book, we were talking about caffeine, and she said, well, I really think that if you drink tea, it's really doesn't hurt you and would compare to what coffee does. Caffeine is a molecule. Okay.
Yeah.
If it says caffeine,
Right.
the molecule's in there. Okay. So and it would be the analogy of you can put any kind of a dress on a pig.
That's right.
It's still a pig.
Still a pig.
It couldn't be a blue dress. It can be a pink dress. It can be a wedding dress. It's
Yeah.
still a pig. So no matter how you're taking your caffeine, it's still caffeine. So
And I bet you there's a bunch of listeners that don't know, like you said, the tracker tool, right? When you start tracking, when you're talking about chocolate, tea, energy drinks, like for them to actually know what they're having every day, like they could stop drinking coffee at noon, but then have a pop with lunch or have a chocolate after dinner.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
In those attachments I'm going to send you, there's a whole sheet of 1,000 beverages in Canada, United States, and it tells you how much caffeine is in them. So it's got Starbucks. Every drink that Starbucks has in every size, it tells you how much caffeine. So 8 months ago, while I'm writing my book, I'm drinking Diet Dr. Pepper, 2 to 3 a day, and a Diet Sundrop on top of it. I'm looking at the can one day, and it says caffeine, and I'm drinking this because I don't think there's any caffeine in there, and I'm writing a book about caffeine. Okay, and again, I'm not anti-caffeine, but I don't want to be drinking caffeine. You realize I don't want to be doing this. So, and then I go out and look at the Sundrop, and I don't know if you're familiar with Sundrop. It's a citrus soda.
Yeah.
It's fairly popular. It has the most caffeine of any 12-ounce soda in the United States. It's got 64 milligrams, and the Dr. Pepper has 46, and so my granddoggy just came up to visit. He opened the door himself. Okay. So anyway,
baby.
So
cute.
His name's Rhythm. Yeah. Oh, great time to come and give me some love.
Beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, a Cavalier King Charles. Yep, and he's a keeper. So anyway, so I look at this chart, and they have this chart. So you can look at this chart and you can decide you may be drinking something that has caffeine in it, and you don't know it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make excuses for you, but here I am. I'm not. I consider myself a subject matter expert. At the time, I was a subject matter ignorant person, right? Because I just didn't know, because you don't know what you don't know. And so, look at these attachments. You can put them. I believe you probably have show notes, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information, and this is all free. And if you want to contact me and you have questions, you go to my website, you go to the contact page, you email me, I'll answer. You don't need to pay me to get answers to your questions. Yeah. All right. I mean, I have multiple revenue, money revenues, streams. If I can help people quit caffeine, I've accomplished some things.
Yeah.
Some big things.
Nice.
And the cognitive dissonance, though, is so brutal in our society that most people would rather take a pill than quit doing this.
Yeah.
I have a good friend, same age as mine. 6 months ago, no meds. All of a sudden, he's got high blood pressure. Doctor puts him on a med. A bad reaction. Calls his doctor like 3 days later, said, I can't do this. So they change the meds, right? Puts him on 2 different ones. It's only half as bad. And so he's now dealing with 2 medications that are making his life miserable. I saw him 3 days ago. He has gained 50 pounds in the last 6 months.
No.
Wow.
And I said to him, you do realize that if we work, I can work with you because I'm good enough at this. My wife works with my daughter occasionally. I mean, this is our life, right? So this is our lifestyle. I said, if you want to work with me, I can get your blood pressure down and you don't have to be on these meds. And he looked me straight in the eye, and we're still good friends. So he didn't take this the wrong way. But he said, I like my life just the way it is. And I choose to just accept the side effects. He gets up, he drinks coffee, then he has a soda. Middle of the afternoon, he has a Red Bull. He smokes, And he smoked all his life, all the life that I know him. So, I mean, I don't brag on him about that because he's going to do it. But I offered to help him. He would rather take a pill. That makes him sick. And now I look at him and I'm thinking, you are now on the road to an early death. 50 pounds in 6 months is a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Crazy.
I lost 50 pounds in the last 11 years. When I quit, I went on the same diet with my wife. When I quit eating gluten and grains, I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. Now that's just not gluten. That's also glyphosate. You realize there's other chemicals in there that are messing with us. But I was losing weight so fast that I said to my wife, I said, "You think I should keep doing this?" Because I thought I might be sick.
Yeah.
And now, 11 years later, I'm down 50 pounds. And I have no pain in my knees, no pain in my feet, no, because of the inflammation, right? Because these things cause inflammation. And as you drink more caffeine, you're going to get inflammation in your body. It's inevitable because you have this, your blood pressure is going to cause some of these things. Because when you go into parasympathetic mode at night, because that's what happens when you go to sleep, you never truly get into a real parasympathetic mode because your circadian rhythm is so messed up that your body, it does not allow you to go into your full restful sleep. So what's the takeaway? The takeaway is if you can get your sleep back, you are going to feel better no matter what. And some of the things that you may be struggling with are going to get significantly better. No guarantees because everybody's different. But, and again, I printed these out in preparation for this. There's 10 pages of, and you can't see them, but 10 pages of all the different things, how caffeine interacts with estrogen and the different cycle things and the postmenopause, perimenopause. It's scary for me to read this, to think that as a woman, if you don't know about this and you don't know, you look at over-the-counter PMS medication. What is one of the main ingredients?
Caffeine.
Caffeine. They put some of them, I've looked at them. Some of them have 30 milligrams a piece, and you take 2 at a time, and you might take 6 to 8 a day. So what you think, just think about now. You just put this in relative to your life. You just had 240 milligrams of caffeine if you took 8 of these. And that aggravates all of the symptoms of your menstrual cramps and your PMS symptoms. And these, because temporarily it relieves some of the pain because you get the endorphins, you get the dopamine, you get the adrenaline, you get the cortisol. But when it wears off, man, I can't tell you, but I can only imagine how bad it is.
Brutal.
Yep. Glad I don't have that anymore.
Yeah, right.
That right away.
Yeah.
Bring on postmenopause.
There you go.
Menopause.
I'm all for it. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Okay, so you literally went right into our closing there, Steve, when you said the final takeaway is better sleep. But I'm going to hand it over to Tracey and Lorraine. Any final thoughts, ladies, before we wrap this up?
I do. I don't know, but I would like to wrap up today's conversation with Steve, which I'm absolutely loving. I think the big reminder is this: caffeine doesn't actually give us energy, right? It borrows it from our future self, right?
Absolutely.
And for women navigating thyroid and adrenal challenges, that loan comes with interest. So what feels like a quick boost can quietly drain the adrenals, stir up stress hormones, and keep the nervous system running hotter than it should. This isn't about blaming coffee. It's about understanding how sensitive bodies respond when they're already working overtime. And when we reduce caffeine, even just a little, we're no longer pulling energy from tomorrow to survive today. So we give our hormones space to breathe, our adrenals a moment of relief, and our nervous system the chance to settle. And that might just be the turning point your body has been waiting for, so you can finally start feeling like yourself again. So thank you so much, Steve, for helping us understand the why behind this, because real change happens when you finally see the full picture instead of simply being told just to stop. All right.
Yep.
So thank you
Right.
very much.
My pleasure.
Lorraine?
Yes, and I wanted to thank you too. My apologies. I'm having some technical issues, so I've been on my phone this whole time. And I did want to talk a little bit. You mentioned cognitive dissonance a few times, and I want to couple that with people who may want to make some changes but don't want to quit. So I'm one of those people that have the worst headaches when it comes to caffeine. It doesn't take a whole lot. They could take me completely out. So I have quit caffeine cold turkey a few times. I am currently in that space where I have modified my caffeine. Sometimes I can have a full caffeinated coffee. It's rare. Most of the time I have decaf, but I do some of these other things, as you were mentioning. I have teas sometimes. I definitely enjoy my dark chocolate, and you won't be able to pry that out of my dead cold hands there. But again, with that, you know, we all have free will and free won't.
Yeah.
For
Love
those
that
that
too.
are for those that are thinking to themselves, I might want to make some changes, but they seem too overwhelming or out of reach. We want to reiterate that you are the one that is control with how you modify what you do. So even if you cut down or cut out a little bit, it's got to be better than what you've been doing. And that's really all we're talking about. So we're talking about the small, little, doable changes that you can stick with that will improve your health. And all of the information that Steve has given you, plus other information that we've all talked about, that's what we want to say. Small steps, you're empowered to do it. You have the free choice to do it. And a little bit can go a long way when it comes to your health. So thank you very much, Steve. We really appreciate it.
Well, all I can say is that I would like to hire all you guys to do my closings for me, because I don't think I could do it any better.
Wow.
You know,
So
but
kind.
you know, I have talked to you about a couple times about the fact that, you know, if you know somebody that has high blood pressure, if you know somebody that's pregnant, and so I have a Brendaism. One of hers is the free will and free won't. I got that from my wife. She has another one that says you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
However, you can make it thirsty. And that is my role, is to make people thirsty for knowledge so that they can determine. A lot of people don't know that coffee is causing some of their health issues. You realize in the United States, of 2 to 300 million people, 50 million of them are having negative health effects from caffeine. Okay. And they don't know it's the caffeine. Right. So I will leave you on this note. First, you can reach me at releasethecoffeecuffs.com. I talked about that before. I don't need to go any farther. But I'll leave you with this thought. Perhaps that someone that I talked about is you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So, Steve, this conversation was exceptional. Your message is clear. Caffeine isn't a personality trait, a coping mechanism, or the solution, especially not the solution to exhaustion. It's a stimulant that often masks deeper hormonal imbalances, stress overload, and depleted energy reserves from lack of sleep. So, thank you for helping us rethink what awake really means. And you just shared our listeners how to connect with you. And we will put the link for your wonderful resource into our show notes. So this week's challenge is simple. Choose one morning to delay your caffeine by 90 minutes or at all. Notice your mood, your clarity, your calm, your energy, and your sleep that night. Give your body a chance to wake up before you stimulate it. So remember, in a world where you can be anything, be happy, be healthy, and be kind.
Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Healthy Her podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with anyone you think would benefit from the topics we're discussing. We'd love to hear from you. DM us with your thoughts, comments, or ideas for future episodes. And don't forget to check out the links in our bio if you'd like to connect with any of us or learn more about what we do. Until next time, remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, be happy, and be healthy.